This is Jason Lancaster of Few Left Standing, and we're about to discuss metal.
This is the Discuss Metal podcast with Jason Lancaster of Few Left Standing. Hosted by Dan Terry, presented by discussmetal.com.
I have the pleasure this evening of sitting down with Jason Lancaster of Few Left Standing. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
Oh, I'm alive. Just got off work. Cracked open a couple of beers, relaxing, listened to some Few Left Standing all day so I could ask you really hyper-technical questions about each song.
Well, if my memory holds up, I can answer those.
There you go.
Because you're probably talking to the worst guy as far as remembering facts about all this in the past. I can't remember, probably 75% of the bands that we actually played with. You know, John and Chris are like, yeah, we played with so-and-so. And I'm like, did we? I guess I was too busy breaking down, and loading up, trying to get out of the way.
Well, that's a lead singer thing. Those guys never know what's going on. They never remember, or they remember everything because they don't unload.
Right.
Anything.
Right.
I used to be a lead singer, so I used to be worse about that kind of stuff. I'd just disappear all of a sudden when it was load out time and when it was load in time. And
yeah, right. Hey, buddy, what are you doing? What are you walking off? We got amps. Come on.
I'm gonna go work some things out with the promoter and just leave. Yeah. Promoter's like, here's the thing: you guys got pizza and soda. Is that going to be enough to get you to your next show? It's like, no,
yeah.
No, but okay. That's awesome.
I remember we played Vino's in Little Rock, and John and a buddy of his had, of course, we're based out of Memphis, and they drove in early to Vino's to kind of hang out before, we played the show that night. We get there, and man, I think they ate most of the complimentary pizzas that we were supposed to get for the band. We laid into the band, that kid. Of course, he's not a kid anymore, but yeah, back then it was like, we're gonna kill you, boy.
Well, that's the scary thing, is that we're all old now. I remember, so whenever we were preparing to do the Few Left Standing episode and the Few Left Standing versus Strong Arm, I'm looking at the dates these records came out, and I'm like, they're not that old. Like there's no and I'm looking at it, and I look at myself in the mirror, and I see my gray hair, and I'm like, oh no.
You're 33 though, right?
33, 34-ish, something like that.
Yeah, man. No, you're not old.
Most of my gray hair's from stress.
Same here. But I'm 10 years older than you. It's like you can definitely see, on the Skype that I have a little patch right there in the beard.
I have one as well, but I just consider that a cool point because I just look like a guy that was in a band, So that's
right.
So speaking of bands and, a long time ago and, stuff that's happening now, let's kind of jump into this Furnace Fest thing a little bit. This is, I'd say it like it's no big deal, but like it's monumentally huge. Whenever I saw Beloved get announced, I was like, oh man, I'm happy to see that band again because I thought I had an opportunity to see them at Cornerstone years and years and years and years ago, and I went and saw a different band instead because I was like, it's Beloved, they're a solid state band, they ain't going nowhere. And then they broke up like a month later, so now I had to wait 18 years or something to be able to go see that band again. And then whenever you guys got thrown on there, I was completely like, no way, like there's no way. And so I mean, what was that process? I know on the As the Story Grows podcast, this has kind of been answered, but what was, I guess Chad just randomly reached out to you guys?
Yeah, Chris definitely did talk about that, how he got a text from a mysterious number, is this Chris Stafford, the Chris Stafford? And
who wants to know?
Who wants to know, that sort of thing, being a little guarded, and this Chad Johnson. And of course they started talking and just catching up, and he brought up the Furnace Fest idea. At that point, it seemed like they were sort of flying by the seat of their pants, just kind of putting feelers out there to see if it would, if it would be something that people were interested in. And obviously it was, very big for a lot of people. So the ball got to rolling pretty quick. So not long after that, Chris called me and was asking me how I felt about it. I mean, we feel very loyal to Chad Johnson. I mean, he's always been, really good to us. So we just felt like, man, if he's wanting to do this, it's not like we were a band that broke up and it was bad vibes or anything. It's just we, for a couple of different reasons, just couldn't go on. And but the thing is we're like brothers. I mean, we're like a tight knit group. So this is definitely a huge catalyst to make it happen, for us to actually get in a room and play music together. So that's really what happened. Is he called me, and so on, John and Aaron, and yeah, we all agreed to do it. So
was there any fear, reservation, like, because I mean, if somebody called me up right now and asked my old band to go play a thing, I'd be the 1st one to be all like, dude, there ain't no way, like, logistically that just can't happen.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of that. Chris was very self-conscious about whether, his voice would, he'd be able to get the voice back. And John felt like, man, he hears these young buck drummers nowadays, and he's like, oh my goodness gracious, what they're doing now is amazing. How, we're going to be like fossils up there. I mean, I've always played. I've done things here and there, so it's not like I've lost chops. I don't necessarily play music this heavy anymore, but I still love aggressive, heavy music. Aaron recently, and that's part of why we brought Paul into the fold, is he plays in Reserving Dirt Naps with Paul. He's and he didn't play bass for a lot of years, at least not on a regular basis. So whenever a slot came open in Reserving Dirt Naps, he talked to Paul and joined the group. So he's kind of been back in the, he's knocked the rust off a bit. So between all of us, Aaron and I are probably the most prepared to actually jump back into it. John and Chris, they were worried about it, but I can tell you after the first 2 practices, that we've had, is it's for them, it's been like riding a bike. John is definitely overstating how bad he thinks he is, but I mean, it's all come back to him, pretty well. It's muscle memory, to a large degree. Chris, the same pretty much. He talked about trying to yell in his work truck, and, seeing how that sounded, and he was discouraged. But once he got in the room with the PA and the band, and just, I guess, the adrenaline of doing it after so many years, he was surprised how easily it actually came. So yeah, that's definitely been a big part of, can we do this?
Sure. Yeah. And, what was that like as far as, I'm vicariously living through you guys now at this point, as far as getting a band together after, well more than a decade. What's it like, blasting through those songs again this late? Like, I mean, is it just like, do you just go right back to like it never changed, or?
Yeah. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's like, it just, at least to me, I mean, you may talk to John and Chris, and they may give you a different answer, but I know for me, it felt great. I mean, for that first practice, we really did it up. We practiced at Aaron's house. That's where Reserving Dirt Naps practices. So, he did a cookout. Aaron's he's a big barbecue buff, so he had the big smoker, and we had barbecue that night, drank beer, and it was a big love fest. We got in that room and started playing, and it was just like, I mean, we just felt like we were back home.
That's exciting, because that gives me a preview of what it's going to be like seeing you guys up on the stage after so many years. I mean, the last time, it's so funny because I've seen you guys play one time. Long time ago, and I barely even remember the show. I remember the song Scourge. I remember like that, and it was in I want to say, because we drove like 5 hours, so it must have been like Arkansas.
Wow. You saw us in Arkansas.
I believe so. Yeah, it was like, because I didn't drive then, so somebody drove us down there, but I believe it was in Arkansas, and I can't remember the name of the venue now. And Joe
I mean,
might cut this part out because I can't remember the name of the venue. But I remember it being just like really really intense, like to the point where because at the time I don't think I was really listening to much hardcore. I think it was like mostly like pop punk and stuff like that. So it was like a totally different thing for me. And I went down with some people from my church, some guys that were like really into metal and hardcore and stuff. And you're going to love this, and they made me listen to Zayo all the way down there, and
right.
which is funny because like now looking back on it, like now Zayo's like one of my favorite bands of all time,
Yeah, I could tell. I've listened to those episodes.
Yeah, like I talk a big game on the show about how I've been listening to metal since I was born, and all this stuff. But but the reality is I remember being pretty shocked seeing you guys play that heavy, and I wish I remembered more of the show because I don't even remember.
I'm trying to
because I picked up your record like a couple of years later when it was reissued by Solid State. And I didn't even realize it was the same band because I got Wormwood first, and then I got Regeneration of Self. And when I heard that song Scourge, I was like, "Oh, okay, I do know these guys." Yeah.
I'm wanting to say it would have had to have been Vino's. I mean, it had to have been in Little Rock because there's really, I mean,
it's a pizza place, right?
Yeah, right there in downtown Little Rock. The only other places I can recall us really playing in Arkansas that you would have been to. We played with Living Sacrifice at their home church. But other than that, I can't really think of many venues we would have played in Arkansas.
Well, and I'm really excited about the fact that I'm going to actually know the songs this time. And that it's going to be, I'm probably not going to do much moshing, but
yes,
that's because I'm a distinguished music journalist now or something, whatever.
Right.
But
you stand back with your arms crossed at the back, just watching.
And then I come up to you guys after the show, and I'm like, "It's a great set, guys." Yeah,
I've never been a mosher myself. I'm that guy.
Well, you get the stage though. You can mosh all you want on stage, and it'd be like safe, more or less.
Right. Exactly. I get to watch the chaos.
So this is cool. And what I want to do is I kind of want to rewind the clock a little bit and focus a little bit on, what got you into playing hardcore music or playing music in general. I mean, nobody picks up a guitar because they want to play hardcore. I mean, maybe they did a few years later, but I mean, back then there had to have been something that sparked you into that.
I was never a hardcore guy. I was a metal guy. When I first started playing guitar, like I was a kid at a Headbangers Ball. Like that was my Saturday night, was staying up watching all that stuff as a kid. And I probably started playing guitar around the age of 10, seriously. So, I always gravitated towards the heavier stuff, which, I mean, when I say heavy, I'm talking about Quiet Riot and Twisted Sister and, stuff like that.
Those heavy for then.
Right. So, but the thing that I guess cinched it was I had a hood rat cousin that brought down a copy of Back in Black and The Blizzard of Oz. So those two albums pretty much set the pace for what I loved, And as far as so I was the Ozzy Black Sabbath metal guy, and I met Aaron in high school, and he was the more indie rock. I don't want to say grunge, but he was into The Cure, Morrissey, Mudhoney, a lot of that type of stuff. So when I met him, it sort of broadened what I listened to. And at that point, we're going into the 90s. So, we're listening to the grunge and Alice in Chains and all that stuff. So I was never really a hardcore guy. I mean, I came across stuff that had hardcore I mean, I liked Sick of It All. We went to the band's Warped Tour in Florida a couple of times. So I got to see Civ and Sick of It All. But we, before Few Left Standing, we were in the ska and punk. And I mean, I just soaked up a lot of different styles of music. But it wasn't until Few Left Standing that I really came across a lot of that stuff. I remember Chris playing, I think, Where Blood and Fire Bring Rest, like playing it in the car, like when it first came out. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. because I love the production. I was really into the production. So, and then I found out that was where Living Sacrifice did Reborn. It's like, oh, we got to go to this guy. If we ever get the chance to record, that's where we have to go. And, we started playing in Memphis. I think we were 2 shows in, and, our friend Rocky, who was from Birmingham, went back and told Chad about us. And, I know Chris went over this on As the Story Grows, but it was really quick the way it happened. We didn't really have a long set. We probably had like a 5 or 6 song set. We're just like, we're just going to go, we're going to do it, be short to the point. And, I guess we really kind of set it off for those first couple of shows, because he went back, told Chad, and we were on our way to Birmingham not long after. And it sort of took off. And so we did get a chance to go to Barry and Little Rock and record.
You guys were perfect for it too, because at that time, you've got Reborn had come out in 97, and then Blood and Fire came out in 98. I think Embodiment, Brace the Eternal came out around the same time, 98, I think. Yep. And you guys had, kind of a sound that was very, I don't want to say akin, because I don't think that Few Left Standing really sounds like those bands, but it's that mixture of metal and hardcore, which it's very easy for me to say metalcore, but unfortunately that term, I guess, has been poo-pooed now, and you can't really use it, even though that accurately describes what I'm talking about. It's a mix of metal riffs and stuff, but hardcore, hardcore screamer and that sort of thing.
It's easy to get lost in the categories. I hear people try to place bands in this category and this category. That's great, if you want to do that, but I get exhausted sometimes because there's always that outlier that doesn't fit.
Yeah.
And I can't put these with this. What am I supposed to do with that? So, but yeah, I always felt like, especially Regeneration sounded as if it were of that time. It definitely did fit with those other groups.
Yeah, for sure. And that, man, I can't undersell the song Scourge, how that song just kicks the record off with, and I know from the As the Story Grows thing, that Bruce didn't like that you guys put that sound clip at the beginning of it, but it wouldn't even be the same record to me without it,
Well, yeah. And, the thing about Bruce, and it's been years since I've been around him, but the thing about Bruce is he is very much he's that old school metal guy. He's pretty much no nonsense. He's not really a goofball. He may be with some people, but with us, he's pretty reserved. He'll joke around, but he's seems to be fairly straight laced. And we love to pick on that. He probably thought we were a bunch of idiots, and we ate that up. We went goofier just because he didn't want to go goofy. And, whenever we were like, hey, we're going to do this, we'd like to do this. What do you think? He would just be like, I don't know about that, guys. It sounds like, what did Chris say? It sounds like pie.
Yeah,
I remember Chris,
yeah.
He busted out laughing. And just pie, oh my God. And
had Bruce never seen Evil Dead 2? Is that?
I guess not. Maybe he had, but he really didn't act like it. And if he did, he's that type of guy. It just sounded too goofy to him to actually do on a metal record. And of course, we're goofballs anyway, so that didn't bother us at all. It's actually him acting like we shouldn't do it, just forced us into it.
Right.
We're just being contrarians at that point.
It's not your fault at that point. Yeah.
Right.
But no, I love the way that, because to me it actually sounds cool. It doesn't even sound goofy at all, because I'm such a huge fan of Bruce Campbell and all of the Evil Dead stuff,
yeah.
And Army of Darkness and all that. So to have that on it, especially because there wasn't a lot of Christian music that I listened to at that time that was cool. You know what I mean? That would,
yeah.
There weren't the Christian bands in my local scene wouldn't even admit to watching a movie like Evil Dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very straight laced, very, and so it was one of the very first, and that's what I loved the most about this genre and that scene at the time was that, I was like, okay, so these dudes are cool. They're like me and my friends, and it not.
Well, that's why we bonded with Tantrum. so much, because when we first started playing with them, they had a whole rig where they had a TV and where they're playing Evil Dead, and the woman is getting raped by the tree. We're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And we just did a sample of a very tame part of it. Here they are. They're playing this, and we were just like, this is insane. It's great, but it's insane.
Dude, some of those tantrum clips, like the ones that ended up on their albums, are messed up. Like,
yeah.
Oh my goodness! Like the one I for whatever reason I popped in the first Tantrum CD today when I was driving around, and it was the Heart is a Two-Headed Sperm, which again is a weird name for a record, but it's totally Steven if you know Steven, and he's like, you like what does he say? Oh God, see, I screwed that up too. But anyway, some of the clips on there, like he's got stuff from like Texas Chainsaw and I don't even know what the like weird public domain ones are from the beginning. But anyway,
yeah, it's been a long time since I've listened, but I mean, I can tell you we bonded over that. But we were a little bit. It seems like we were probably 3 to 4 years at least older than a lot of the bands that we were playing with. So a couple of our guys were already married in long-term relationships, even had kids. So I mean, I mean. We had definitely, I don't know. We weren't as afraid to, I guess, do that as some other bands might have been. But yeah, those guys, man, Tantrum was nuts.
Well, and you guys were very like lyrically, I mean, obviously very open about faith and about Jesus and about all that aspect of it. And even that was kind of, I don't want to say it was different, but it was more like the old bands, like the Strong Arm and Overcome and Focused and stuff like that. Whereas, I mean, Zao was that way too, on their Blood and Fire, and obviously Living Sacrifice is still pretty much that way. But was that ever like, I mean, because I try to put myself in the mindset when I started listening to this kind of music, it was kind of more generally accepted to be a faith-based band. But nobody ever really talked about it. Was that the way the scene kind of always was, or did you guys run into like, or do you ever feel like the band was ever like roadblocked because of that? And I only asked that because one of my co-hosts, whenever we were talking on the episode we did about you guys, he's like, yeah, I love that first record, but it was just too much Jesus for me. Was that something that you guys encountered very often?
We did get that. I mean, we definitely got the people that was just like, oh, we love the music, it's just that, you're preachy. And I guess maybe I was oblivious to it. I mean, I realized that the lyrical content was, on that first record, that was like 80% Bible based, scripture, I would say.
Oh yeah.
What he drew from. So we definitely got that where people are like, man, you guys are cool. It's just the whole, religion thing. And, in Memphis, a big group in Memphis, right before we kind of came up was, His Hero's Gone.
Okay.
The crust punks.
Yeah.
And there was a club that we wanted to get in just because we liked the stuff that was going through there, not because we were like trying to infiltrate the scene necessarily. But there's a place called 1297 Madison, and that's where all the crust punk kids were. Well, they kind of roadblocked us, from playing there at first until, some of the guys that were like more respected in that scene was like, hey, look, these guys are cool. Just let them play. You may not like their message, but they're cool. Trust us. And we played. I mean, we played there a lot after that. So yeah, but we definitely did run into a lot of, man, I don't know about that. Supposedly we had played Birmingham, and, this kid got mad at us because he brought some of his friends who weren't Christian. And apparently Chris was, they felt like he was going on too long about the whole Christianity thing. And
he was feeling it on the stage. Sure.
Yeah. He was like, oh yeah, he was embarrassed, because his friends just weren't digging it. But I mean, it is what it is. It's
not really your fault. Yeah.
You're right. Right.
No, it's just interesting to me because, was it weird seeing as, after the band kind of went away, seeing kind of that, Christian heavy music kind of like more or less exploded, 2-3 years after after the band had kind of called it a day?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I never really thought of it that way. I always saw that there were groups that sort of had Christian tendencies that, went on. I mean, Under Oath got huge.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not necessarily sure how their faith is today. I want to say it seems like they're probably like, they're not really, they definitely want to steer away from that.
Yeah. My understanding is they don't consider themselves a religious band. Yeah.
Right.
Anymore. Which, I mean, granted, I think a lot of bands don't necessarily. I say a religious band, and that automatically makes it sound weird, because a lot of bands were just bands. You know what I mean? And they just, maybe the dudes all met at a church.
Right.
Or like in my old band, I mean, we played hardcore metal, in a children's chapel, with picture paintings of Noah's Ark all over the walls, and all this stuff. So,
from what I understand, like guys like Zayo, like they're kind of like the perfect example of that. Like guys who, met, through their church and their youth groups, and then you get older, your views broaden, and everything's not so crucial. It's not all just like life or death, with every situation.
I think the biggest example of that was Living Sacrifice, because they went, I mean, as far like when I started listening to this kind of music, Living Sacrifice was it. You know what I mean? As far as like,
right.
I just assumed that they were rich. You know what I mean? Or that they had the same, because like all my friends were like really into Pantera, Sepultura, Meshuggah, stuff like that. And but I'd listen to Living Sacrifice, and I'm like, these guys are every bit as good as those bands. You know what I mean? Like, they're I did a Furnace Fest episode. We were talking about all the bands recently. We just went A to Z. Yeah.
And thank you for saying that you felt like we would be the hidden gem of that. I let Chris know that. I was like, see, this guy, he likes what we do. I mean, that's why they were in earnest saying what they said.
Right.
Because, yeah.
Yeah, I hope I didn't piss all the guys off, with all that. But that's just what we do on the show, and it's and like I said, it's not just my opinion, because I mean, the other guys get equal footing, and it's a lot of fun. But yeah, no, I definitely agree though that I think that you guys, maybe there's a lot of people there that are there to see the newer bands that don't know about Few Left Standing, or even like Hope's Fall, who's made a huge comeback in the recent years, and obviously
they're
Zayo,
basically a whole different band at this point, are they not?
What, Hope's Fall?
Yeah.
Well, sort of. So it's actually, as far as I know, they just released, or didn't release it, but they just recorded a new album. I think they just dropped a new song like today. It's either going to drop today or tomorrow. But it's basically the same lineup that they had when they did their Satellite Years. Their Satellite Years record. So it's pretty much the same guys that did that one. Now it's not like old school with Frailty of Words and Doug and
see, that's my frame of reference, because I mean I remember those dudes staying at Chris's house whenever they came through and we played with them, and that was who was in that lineup at the time. So
but yeah, they made a huge comeback. But like the reason I said I think you guys are going to be the sleeper hit, or the band that people aren't going to be expecting, is because of just the straight brutality of it. Like that, Regeneration itself has some bangers on it, to the point where like people aren't like it just becomes like there's moments on that record where you guys are like a wall of noise. And that is, maybe that's the production, maybe it's the production's fault or whatever. But like, I was always all about it. And I think people that are there to see bands like Converge and stuff, like they're going to like hear kind of that sort of stuff that you guys are throwing down and be like, oh wow, I'm actually really into this,
Yeah. Yeah. That first record, the production on it was pretty dense. But, something that I guess I should probably address is that, when we first started out, we were a 2-guitar player band. It was me and Jim Joplin. So, so that was written as a 2-guitar player. album. Jim, he was more into Neurosis and very dissonant sounding metal and hardcore. So he kind of went his own separate way there, after a while. And we tried to replace him. We had a couple of people that we brought in that just didn't work out. And at a certain point, we just decided, well, we're the core group. The core four are right here. Instead of trying to shoehorn somebody in that's not going to gel, we'll just keep it us four. And I mean, that made me have to sort of change up some of the ways that I did the first album. I had to try to arrange it so that it sounded more like there were two guitars live. I mean, it's kind of hard to do, but
sure, I get it.
Yeah. But so you guys are talking about Wormwood, and we definitely took offense to the broom closet thing. Like, we were joking about that. Or like, broom closet.
Did I say broom closet? Somebody may have, yeah.
So somebody, yes. So we wrote that one to be a one guitar player. I mean, that was all written with just me on guitar, and I was a big fan of the Pantera idea, where if you listen to those Pantera records, Dimebag, like if he's playing a solo or anything where he's going to higher registers, he doesn't really always. Sometimes he does, but he doesn't always lay like a rhythm guitar underneath it. So it comes off better live. He doesn't have to worry about all that. So that was kind of like the idea with that. Now, as far as like the broom closet thing, I had no idea what that even means. I feel like clarity wise, that one sounded better. I felt like the production was better on that one, but we may have been going more into a more rock, a little more swagger territory than we were so much the hardcore sound that was of the time, especially when we did Regeneration.
I think really what it was, and again, I don't remember the broom closet comment because we do those episodes way before they post, so I don't even remember saying it. But I think if I did say it, what I was getting at was, I'm a meathead, so I like hardcore, in your face, kind of sound. And Regeneration itself, like you said that the production's kind of dense on it, but like, to me, that's not a bug, it's a feature, if that makes sense, And so that record came across sounding way more brutal, maybe because it wasn't as clear. Yeah. Or because it wasn't as clean. Like, I mean, you listen to like heavy records now that are like so clean that they're almost not even heavy anymore.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. I mean, it can be sterilized to the point it just sounds, you're taking out all the balls from it.
And for some reason, just whenever I listen to those records back to back, which is what I did for the episode, I felt like Wormwood was just like a little quieter, a little bit more muffled. But like, what you're saying makes total sense. It was written with one guitar in mind, and it was and you guys did a lot more interesting stuff on that record. As far as, like I said, because one of the first things I was like, the songwriting's obviously improved, in the sense that these songs go in a lot of different directions. And, in like the song Wormwood, you couldn't put that on Regeneration itself. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah. That was definitely, that's fun. I love that song. I remember coming up with that part. Like, my wife was going to sleep, and I just remember sort of, we were living in one of our first apartments when we first got married, and it was just a part I came up with, the real pretty part. I was playing it to her as she was going to sleep, and that's the biggest memory I have of that one. But I had very fond memories of that. But yeah, I think after the first one, we were just trying to sort of go in a bit of a different direction. And I guess maybe, I don't know, it's hard to say. We were trying to keep it interesting. So I guess we were going for maybe a little bit lusher, better production, and it lost some of the, it felt like it lost some of the momentum. But
well,
to us, we loved it.
at the end of the day, man, it's just one guy's opinion. But
Yeah,
you know,
no,
but that
I'm
didn't
not
really
offended
kill
at all.
my enjoyment of the record as much. Like it really didn't, because like songs like The Latest Fad, like that's like, dude, whenever that singing vocals come in on that song, I'm just like, I remember being blown away. I was like, oh my god, like this is actually like really cool. Like it's not what I was expecting. It wasn't even what I wanted, really. But then whenever I heard it, I was like, "Oh yeah, I actually really liked that." Then there was some more singing on the record, you know, and it was just really. I thought that was super cool. I think the only thing I really criticized on that record, besides the production, was I was like, "Oh, it's so long." But that's just me being a dude that does a podcast where I listen to albums all week. So anytime a record's like longer than 30 minutes, I like start complaining about it.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I mean, it could have been a thing where we were just like, you get into that thing where you're like, you don't want it to be too short, so you keep on writing and writing, and then pretty soon you've got more than you really need. But I mean, we were pretty proud of it, and it was. I thought it was funny because you said you're like, yeah, I mean, I think it's too long. You get like past the ninth song, I just kind of stopped listening. It was like, hey, if you get 9 songs deep and you're, getting tired, I'll take it. That's a
Right.
win for me.
Right. Now I was listening to it on my sound system right behind me. And what's funny too is I'd kind of forgotten how heavy the band was. Like there's like kind of like but whenever you're listening to even a CD, I couldn't believe whenever I put in Regeneration of Self, dude, you listen to that thing on a stereo system with a mixer and a good set of speakers. And it's like,
Yeah.
you listen to that and you're like, I've been listening to music wrong my whole life. Because
Yeah.
I remember I listened to those 2 records, and then I think I listened to like an Overcome record and a Zayo record. I had like in a big 5 CD changer or whatever because I'm old, and that sounded really cool to have.
Right.
And I was definitely blown away, and I think that's also where I noticed like that the second record was a little bit quieter. Because I was like, oh, it's weird. But then there's some records I'll put in where I have to like go in and redo all of my settings, or else I'll blow the speakers out, or So I definitely had to do some adjustment for going from because whenever Wormwood finished and it went right back into Regeneration, I had to like run and turn the bass down. Real quick so that my speakers didn't blow out. And so I mean, all in all, man, like for 2 records though, the impact that it had on me personally can't be undersold. Like I just you guys were one of those bands that I felt like, number one, like I said earlier, was like cool, like these guys get it. And I didn't really have much of a problem with the Christian message because I was a Christian, and like it just like how you hear something and you're like, well, yeah, that just sounds correct to me, and you know what I mean, you move on. And so I think it's really cool.
Well, I was gonna say, especially whenever you're you may be like some of the other kids that would come to our shows. Like we had a group of kids from Mississippi, the Mississippi Crew, what we call them, and they would come up because they'd have an older brother or their parents would drop them off the show. We were safe, for them. They would get to come see hardcore and punk and not have to fight with their parents about it, I guess. So I mean, I get it. You were probably one of those kids that, and I think I remember you saying that that's really all you could listen to, at that point. You were very young at that point. So, I mean, I completely understand.
No, it was cool. And again, to see you guys get announced on Furnace Fest was so huge for me because it's just one of those bands where it's like, yeah, I like you guys, but I'm never going to see you guys play live ever again. You know what I mean? Because you're gone. It's been all these years. Yeah. And so Furnace Fest has really become like a
last chance to dance sort of thing.
Absolutely. Which leads to my next question. Are you guys going to have merch at Furnace Fest?
We are working on that right now. We've had so many people that want the Hess design on the shirt, so we're working on that. And we're working on a couple of other designs, and I mean, we've definitely been talking about it. I've got a friend of mine working getting the stuff laid out for us, so we can
awesome.
See what our options are.
because I'm a couple shirt sizes bigger than I was
Right.
15, 16 years ago, so I mean, I pretty much have to set aside like a nest egg or work more hours or something, in order to get some of those shirts, because there's bands that I'm never going to have a chance to see really ever again.
It's so dense with bands. You're just gonna, I mean, you're gonna have to have money to go to that thing.
So, as far as Furnace Fest goes, a lot of these bands are doing a one-time reunion. Is this going to be a one-time reunion for you guys, or is the magic going to take hold? And no pun intended.
We
putting you on the spot.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to say no, but I mean, a lot of time has passed, and it would take a lot more of our time to do it, especially since I live deep in the bowels of Arkansas, and the rest of the guys live, in the Memphis area. So, I mean, it can be done. I'm really, I mean, it's not like I don't take trips into Memphis on quite a regular basis. My parents are still there, but I don't know. I mean, we've always sort of toyed with the idea of getting back together, but for one reason or another, it just didn't work out. But this is definitely, sort of lit a fire, under us. So I mean, who knows? We'll see how it goes. We're going to take it one step at a time. So, we're just trying not to embarrass ourselves whenever we play Furnace Fest, especially knowing that we're going to be playing around the same time as Knocked Loose. And I can tell you, Reserving Dirt Naps played that Life and Death Brigade, the LBD fest, and we were there for that secret Knocked Loose show. Man, those guys. We told Chad, we were like, hey, don't put us after them. Don't put us after those guys. They put on a great show.
That's straight fire. Those guys are straight fire. But I've seen Knocked Loose like 15 times in the past. It seems like they're always rolling into town. So, you guys, it's definitely going to be one of those, like, I got to go. And, but yeah, that's going to be the hardest thing, I think, for the fest for me is making that map. And making that schedule. And not only that, but there's the podcast aspect of it too, that I'm going to want to do chats with people at the festival. So it's going to be like, I hope I don't end up getting still, like, I hope I'm not like a jerk to somebody in the interview where I'm like, hey, can we hurry this up? Cause I got to go see, or, Yeah. And I'm like, okay, yeah. Okay. Your next tour. Great. New album. Okay. Everybody buy it. Okay. See you guys later, that sort of thing. But, it's going to be hard. I'm hoping to bring, both of the podcasts to Furnace Fest in some capacity. I just got to talk to Chad about it and get that stuff hammered out, and hopefully that's a thing. But I mean, if not, man, I got money in reserve I'm going to get there one way or another. I just called the Zayo.
I hope you guys get in there.
I called the Zayo dudes and be like, you need me to sling some merch for you?
Right.
But no, it's definitely we're going to be there one way or the other, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, whether it's as a podcast or whether it's just me, the dude, it'll be, something that obviously can't be missed. Yeah, we will. I'm just hoping those tickets don't sell out before,
Yeah. Oh, you haven't gotten? Yeah, well, that's right. You haven't gotten tickets yet, man. Yeah, I know it's crazy. The whole ticket thing has been nuts. I mean, every time like the tickets go on sale, and it's like people are getting charged like 3 and 4 times. I'm like, oh my gosh, man, come on now.
That's because it's hard not to click that button like 400 times. You're like, give me my tickets. Make the time go by faster, so it happened right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you guys surprised at the I guess the amount of people that still cared after all these years?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, just the people that have seemed to like us. I'm like, we didn't even realize people remembered who we were, and I was definitely surprised at just the whole, how people just came out of the woodwork, really excited about just the idea of Furnace Fest. I didn't know what the reception would be, but we've definitely been surprised by how well it's been.
Yeah, I remember I was just searching through the Facebook page I was just scrolling through my wall, and this is before I heard that you guys were announced on Furnace Fest, and you guys had made a post, and I was like, first of all, I was like, Few Left Standing has a Facebook page, and then I was like, I think you guys mean MySpace, or even then, I think it might even been a little before that. And
that may have been something that what some of the guys in the band said too. Said, we have a Facebook page. Well, I started up one years ago when I thought we may try to do something, and just nothing ever really came of it. So it had been inactive for a while. And actually, funny story is I got into it. I actually had to get John or Aaron to put me back as an admin so I could get in. And I go to the messages, and there's stuff from like 7-8 years ago, at least, people like making requests of us. And this one guy, he wanted to know how to play Regeneration of Self, the acoustic thing at the end. So, he wanted tab for it. So I messaged him back, and then I posted on our Facebook, the video of me playing it, because I kind of had to relearn it a little bit. And he loved it. He was very appreciative of it, and that was awesome. And we had somebody in Crossville, Tennessee, want us to play a show about 5 years ago, and I just emailed them back and was like, "Oh my goodness, are we too late?"
yeah,
The guy. He wrote back. He was laughing. He was like, "Man, I don't know. Maybe we can get something together, and you guys can come play." So, but yeah, it was nice. It was nice to see that people were actually still out there, kind of wanting to know, what was going on with us.
kind of stoked for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just like, I'm just being a little bit of a fanboy in the sense that I'm like, I can't believe that these bands are coming back. Some of them are sticking around forever, and that was what I was kind of getting at with whenever I was talking about Living Sacrifice, how they broke up in like, I think it was like 2003 or 2004. And then,
did they ever actually break up? I guess
they did. It was a big thing. Like, they announced that they, it's funny. So they announced that they were going to break up. Well, no, first they said that Bruce was going to leave the band, which is kind of like taking the hard drive out of a computer, right? Right. How do you do that? You're losing a guitar player and a singer all at once. And then they had said that Corey Putman was gonna do vocals and play guitar for Living Sacrifice, which that dude went off to be in Norma Jean,
yeah.
And I just couldn't imagine his voice with that band, you know what I mean? Like, it just, and he's even said before that, like, no, it definitely would not have worked out, like that.
How would you do that? Just name it something different,
Yeah. But anyway, it turned into like, no, we're just going to break up, and so they broke up for like 2-3 years. And then I think it was like right around that time that like Demon Hunter came out. And like when Demon Hunter came out, it was like, you got to look at the Christian bands that were in that scene at that time. It was just like Demon Hunter, Under Oath, As I Lay Dying, and all those bands obviously went on to be huge. I think it was the Demon Hunter guys that, basically convinced the dudes from Living Sacrifice, like, dude, no, seriously, you can go do this now and it actually be viable for you. I know you guys like grinded for years and years and years and years, and they never got, it sucked. They never got the recognition they deserved as a band,
Right.
like during those years. And, they came back and have been going relatively strong ever since. I know they don't tour that much and stuff, but like that's just, so whenever I look at a band like you guys coming back, to do like a one-off festival, it makes me wonder like how crazy it would be to record an album in the modern day and age, and you wouldn't even have to put out a physical product, or if you did have to put out a physical product, you could have people pay for it in advance. You know what I mean? Like, so you'd have those guaranteed sales before you even had to go into it. And so that's why I ask that's why I ask that question to almost everybody, where it's like, we're in a different day and age now to where you don't have to necessarily, it doesn't have to be the financial investment to put the music out there. And if you put it out digitally and everybody likes it, people are going to want to buy the physical product. But then you already know, like, oh, it's viable. It's not like shooting in the dark like it used to be, where it's like, well, we'll press 2,500 CDs and see what happens.
Yeah, right. We just, it's funny because we're all, at least between Aaron and I, were, and Paul, we always wonder what would Feel Left Standing sound like, even like 20 years, in like this. I mean, Aaron will throw out a band and I'll be like, no, what do you know?
Like if you had continued for 20 years and had put out records consistently throughout, so like what the ups and downs were.
Yeah. There's no way to tell, but yeah, so it did, I definitely wonder, but, I mean, as far as if we would do something like that, I mean, I honestly would have fun doing it. I think the rest of the guys would. I think it's just more of a, with Aaron being in Reserving Dirt Naps and, just our family lives and, who knows if we could do it, but you never know.
No, that's why I thought I'd just tear that scab right open and talk about it for a minute, because, you never know. And me and my co-host, John, from my other podcast, Brutally Speaking, he, we like to do this to everybody and be like, well, I think you guys should try it. But if you do, you got to give us credit for giving you the idea,
Yeah.
But no, man, like this is all really exciting. I guess if I could put a bow on everything we've talked about up to this point, it's all very exciting, and it's something that I don't think any of us really. It's not something any of us ever expected to happen.
No, I mean, it feels more like a family reunion to us. I mean, that's just the vibe it has. I mean, they definitely went for the nostalgic value, and not, I'm not saying that in they're looking to just capitalize on the nostalgia, but I think that Chad and the people that he's working with, really they want a very family like atmosphere. They want to reconnect with these bands one last time at least.
Absolutely. And, I hope that it is a success, and I hope that it becomes a thing again, where every year it's like, oh man, did you hear who they got back together for Furnace Fest this year? You know what I mean? Like, and it turned into one of those big deals. And, so you guys actually played one of the earlier Furnace Fests, if I'm correct.
Okay. This is where my memory goes terribly bad, because we try to remember if we played, we swear we played two, like the first two Furnace Fests. But my memory is shot. We played the Take Hold Fest, which were smaller, and they were at Slacker 66. But then we come down and play Furnace Fest. I couldn't tell you. I mean, it all mixes together at a certain point. But I think we played the one before Andrew WK was there. Which one was that he was there?
2000 and I'm just going to throw a number out here, and it's probably wrong. 2.
Okay, that sounds about right.
Yeah,
that sounds about right. So yeah, we would have played the 2000 and 2001.
Yeah, that makes sense as far as the timeline of the band goes too. I'm trying to see. That's what's so funny about these conversations. We're all trying to remember, like,
right.
I was like, what was the name of that venue? I was like 15, and I saw you guys play. And,
yeah, that's the part of this podcast I was dreading. I was like, I hope he doesn't ask me too many, finer details like this, because I'm the wrong one.
Yeah, no, I was definitely joking about the asking you tons of technical questions about each song.
Right.
But
I could probably feel that much better than I could, when we played, what venues and who we played with.
So I'm going to ask you a question about the set, and have you guys even decided on what the set's going to be for Furnace Fest?
Oh, we have labored over the set. It has been redonkulous.
Yeah,
how much we've labored over what we're going to do.
I mean, you're going to open with Scourge, right?
Why would we open with Scourge? That's the hit, man.
I know, but you could play it at the beginning and at the end. I don't care.
Right.
It'd be fine.
Right.
We
could bookend it. We could play the first half everything else, and then just the tail end of the song at the very end.
Oh,
right?
But Burn Me to the Ground would be a good opener too.
you could be right about that.
Yeah,
you could be.
Yeah, and Scourge could be that song where like you guys can do the cheesy like 80s metal band thing and like leave the stage, and then you go off.
It's the encore.
Yeah, you go off the stage, and then everybody's like yelling for one more song, and then you hear the "I'll Swallow Your Soul" and all. Yeah,
right.
Could happen.
Well, that would be great if it wasn't in a festival setting.
Right.
I think we leave the stage, they're going to be like, okay, let's get the other band up.
Yeah, right.
We've had enough of this.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about too, is like what kind of set list we're looking at for some of these bands. Are we only going to see you guys for 30 minutes, or are we going to see, I guess it depends on the band or what the time slot is. Yeah, I guess it'd be like any other show, right?
Right. I mean, we've gotten a roundabout idea of what we're going to, what sort of time frame we've got. I don't want to say anything because I just, it doesn't seem like that. Chad hasn't given us any definite details. He just kind of like, well, it's kind of what we're looking at, this sort of thing. So, but I can say, I mean, we're going to pull from, I don't want to say it's 50-50 Wormwood Regeneration. I mean, but we are looking forward to adding Paul and figuring out how we're going to make those Wormwood songs a little much thicker than they are. I mean, it's going to sound great, first off, that we're doing the Regeneration songs with two guitars the way they were meant to be heard.
Yeah.
And second of all, we get to play around with some of the arrangement of the Wormwood stuff. I mean, we have ideas of things we want to try. We don't want to change it and move it too much so that it takes people out of it. But I think what some of the things, the ideas that we're having is definitely going to inject some life into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, I couldn't be more excited. And I guess I've probably taken up enough of your evening.
This is fun, man. Yeah. I love it.
Well, one thing that we like to do whenever we interview people is one of these days I'll send you a message and be like, dude, we should pick a band and let you go through, just like we did with Steven from Tantrum.
Yeah.
Which, have you heard his new band on Teachers?
I've heard a song or two. I mean, I couldn't. It's been a long time. But I guess I need to go back and check that out and listen to him.
It's really good.
I know he's been doing. I know that's something he did after. I mean, of course, my frame of reference with him is Tantrum, but I know he did on Teachers.
Yeah, no, they're definitely a really cool band, and one that I think a lot of people, while I throw out terms like sleeper hits, I actually think that on Teachers is even like a step up from what he was doing in Tantrum. Like, it's a little bit more serious, a little bit less weird. And, yeah.
Yeah. How many has he put out as on Teachers? He's put out several.
He's got one record called A Human Comedy. And he was so nice, dude. When I told him I liked that record, he sent me like all three versions of it, like all the vinyl and all that. And so he has that's the full length, and he has a 7-inch that's just like a split with another band that has 2 songs on it. And then he's working day in and day out on working on another record and getting a band together for it. So I've heard some demos, if I'm allowed to say that. He'll let me know after I post this if I was supposed to say that or not. But I've heard some demos, and it's some pretty cool stuff. And but yeah, man, I definitely am stoked to see you guys play at Furnace Fest. I'm glad that I got a little bit of answers to some of my questions, and I'm glad I didn't piss you guys off too much on.
No, look, like I said, if you guys had been dicks and was like, Few Left Standing, I could tell that you definitely were fair in your criticisms. So I took no offense to it.
But then all you guys got to do now is put out a new album and be all like, what do you think about that? Broom Closet this. Yeah. And it'd be awesome.
Prove that we didn't just fizzle out after Wormwood, huh?
Absolutely. Well, Jason, I really appreciate you taking the time out, man. I'm stoked about Furnace Fest. I'm stoked to see all of this stuff go down. I'm stoked that we'll get to, meet in person and hang, and it'll be a good time, man. And I'm super stoked to have got to talk to you tonight about all this stuff.
Yes, sir, man. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot, and I look forward to actually seeing you in person too.
Absolutely.
And hanging out at Furnace Fest.